Afternoon, gentlemen.
Hey guys.
Good afternoon, gents.
Someone special in the studio today with us, Jason Northwood. It's fantastic, really fantastic actually, to have you here with us. The reason why we didn't promote the fact that you were coming on early, partly because of your overwhelming celebrity fame, but we didn't actually know if we could get you on. You've been with us all week actually at Samero, and obviously flying came first this week, but we managed to fit you into a podcast. So, Jason, fantastic to have you with us, Paul.
Bryan, thanks very much. Thanks for the great introduction. And to yourself and to you, Ryan, I cannot thank you guys enough for the incredible support that you've shown me over the past year, and in particular in the last week. I can't believe we're finally sitting here together in the studio. And I must say to all the viewers out there who haven't met these guys in person and think that they're great on air, wait until you meet them in real life. They're absolute legends.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. That's very kind of you, man.
No, thanks, Jason. Yeah, I mean, it's a real privilege to have met you this week. We've looked forward to it for a long time. And the last time we officially met was, 5 months ago when we did the live show back early in the year. And Jason actually shuffled things around on his side to actually accommodate us as well, because you were supposed to be doing your medical this afternoon. Yeah. Which he rearranged to do yesterday, and I mean that's we really are that worked out, and stoked to have you on the show today.
We had to get Jason on the show. If Jason was here in Johannesburg at Samero, and he did not come on the show, it would have been a bit of a failure.
Sacrilege.
Yeah. Likewise from my side, I couldn't be here and not be on the show.
Yeah, no, fantastic to have you here. So what the hell are we going to talk about today?
Gee, well, it's been an interesting week being up here. It's been a bit of a shock to the system for me, flying for the first time in 20 months. And what an experience meeting everybody here at the Sim Aero Center. The facilities are fantastic. You guys really have a marvelous setup here. It's very impressive, very professional. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been nice to try my hand at a turboprop again.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that for a minute, because you know what amazed me with this guy. I mean, around we see it all the time, under preparation from people. Dad's paid for the course, go and do it. They arrive here, no pen, no paper. This guy, A380, flying a couple of years, not so long ago.
Yeah,
and the work that he put in to come to fly the 1900, just to get current again and license and everything going. But a consummate professional, regardless of what airplane you're flying. And it really stuck out for me.
I got to witness it firsthand on Monday when you arrived here and you jumped into the 1900. I had the privilege of just running the sim for a short while Jason did some practice. And I mean, it was like within half an hour, you could see he was flying this airplane like he was wearing an old leather jacket. It was just so comfortable. And that only stems from weeks and weeks of preparation. Now, you can downplay it as much as you want, but I mean, it was so evident how hard you've worked for this training and for this preparation for the test. It was like, how do you even begin to explain that to someone? You have to see it. It's amazing. Jason, I mean, hats off to you. You really are the epitome of a professional pilot, man.
No, thanks very much, Ryan. I think it may have appeared that way from the outside, but I can assure you it certainly didn't feel that way. My cogs were turning at a rapid rate of knots. To do something that wouldn't have taken much thought in the past now takes every bit of your being to think about and concentrate around just keeping straight and level initially. And what an experience, really, going back to what flying is all about. We get spoilt with automation, that's for sure. And what a fantastic experience.
You certainly made it look like it was just too easy, really. I think if it was me in the seat and things the other way around, there probably would have been a big pile of sweat and a lot more expletives going on in that little cockpit than
that's why I was wearing two shirts.
That was great. I mean, and it's wonderful. It's so nice to know that in this industry there are pilots out there with that amount of passion and dedication. And you've just got it to go out there.
There's an element of drive that you can't explain
Yeah.
It's very difficult to explain that.
It's lost on a lot of individuals, you know. I mean, one day if my family's in the back of the airplane and you hear Captain Jason Northwood is on the flight today, you know you can sit back, relax,
and enjoy the flight with us.
and enjoy 4 bottles of whiskey because everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
No, good. That's enough about me, man. But you guys, I must say, from your side, what a professional operation you run here. You've been accommodating from the minute I stepped into this building. It's been 10 years since I walked in here, and it's almost like it's just got a new face to it on every front. It's really a comfortable environment to train in, and that's what candidates want. You want to be made to feel at home, comfortable, and that's exactly the environment that you guys provide.
Yeah, thanks,
well done.
Jason. We're very proud of the center here. We've put a lot of effort in, and everyone plays like a critical role. I mean, if Ryan wasn't here, we wouldn't have been able to do half the things we have. If the same goes for the cleaning staff to the technicians. Everyone has played such a key role in turning the center into something that you're really proud of. So nice coming from a guy like Jason.
Yeah, well, no, absolutely. No, we're very proud of it, and hopefully it'll just keep on getting bigger and better.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. But obviously this week in aviation, where most of our viewers know Jason relatively well.
Yeah,
we share a common network, and no real formal introductions need to be done. It's not going to be an interview. We've had a really, it was actually our most successful live show was with Jason. How long ago was that now?
5 months ago. I just checked as we started the show. I was like, I was looking for the exact date, but it says 5 months ago. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. and that was a great show.
Yeah.
And remarkably, I think a lot of people have this these days, these sort of modern relationships. We met Jason for the first time in real life, not in the metaverse. 3 days ago?
3 days ago. Yeah.
That's quite remarkable.
It is indeed. It is indeed. And as I said in the beginning of the show, if you think these guys are impressive on air, wait until you meet them in real life. Absolute legends.
Particularly at the pub. But no, great, man. But should we get into it a bit? What are we talking about today? Local news, starting off, Ryan?
Yeah, not too much local news.
I see a lot of posts about Mango.
Yeah.
Obviously, guys doing their bidding farewell there.
Yeah.
So that's done. It was very sudden, like they always are, and off you go. So
put to bed.
That's put to bed. Yeah.
A bit of praise in the news. I think I saw an article yesterday or today about Lyft.
They've got a cool.
Commenting that they were, I think it was at Cape Town, waiting to check in for the Lyft Airlines flight, and they reckon that the airport was chaos. Boarding for Lyft, the flight was chock-a-block, and the airport was just so busy, which is awesome to hear. I mean, that's what we want,
Yeah, excellent news. Lyft have you seen that they're doing a similar thing to what Fly Safe did with their sort of holiday type idea? So they're turning 1 now in December. Hey?
That's right. Can you believe it?
Yeah. That was like our big news for that week. Remember? It's like, what are we going to talk about today?
I remember there was a guessing game about what color are they going to, because they put it out to the public. What's the logo going to look like? What color is it going to have? Is it going to be like a yellow with a black tail or black with a yellow tail? So they're going to paint 2 airplanes, one with a black tail and a yellow.
Yeah. I thought it was blue. I don't know. I
don't know. But,
and the cabin crew uniform options as well.
Yeah, it was quite innovative. I think you're going to see a lot of competition as Lyft grows. But like particularly between Lyft and Fly Safe, watch that space, I'm sure.
So would Lyft have been this innovative if the SAA deal was going to happen?
Probably not.
No, I'm just asking.
No, it's not going to happen. That's my bet.
All right. So obviously the deal that they're doing now is called Lyft Experiences. So a set of curated travel experiences that cater for all kinds of budgets. So with the help of travel experts, the bold new move aims to stimulate tourism amid the COVID wave and lockdown levels. So travelers will not only go on holiday, but also experience new and exciting things. It revealed that the packages were designed to give travelers a once-in-a-lifetime experience, whether it was kayaking, it's for you, Jace, or archaeological cave tours, whatever it might be. So they're trying to package these deals together. And obviously, Fly Safely did a similar thing a while back. I think that was in May. But the more innovation that happens and the bigger they get, the better for South Africa and the better for South Africans. I mean, the more competition, the more airlines, the more jobs. I'd like to see them stay. I don't know about you.
No, totally. Particularly when it comes to jobs. I mean, that's obviously been a topic of conversation amongst us for the last couple of weeks, watching the global sort of recovery. And in certain parts of the world where the recovery is happening really quick, we spoke about it briefly the other day in the States versus the Far East. That's all we want to see.
Yep.
Recovery, jobs.
It's happening.
Yeah,
it is.
It's happening. There's no doubt about that.
Certainly.
That's part of the sort of topic of discussion, I suppose, today. One of the big things that I've picked up in the news is there's almost these warnings going on about travel in the States at the moment. Obviously, a big travel period coming up. And they're saying to people, just be careful. And if you are traveling, go to the airport early and expect major delays. But they don't say there aren't enough pilots, there aren't enough check-in staff, there aren't enough technicians. But the reality is it's grown so fast, they haven't been able to, replace certainly pilots in that yet. But it is going to cause a bit of chaos for a period. But people want to travel. People are determined to travel. And it is such a good sign. I said to someone here earlier, if you want to know what's going to happen in aviation, just look at what's happening in America, and it normally happens somewhere else a year later or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's it. I think we spoke about it a little bit earlier on. I read an article as well. They're already warning passengers traveling through Dubai this weekend. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. If there's a specific event. I know there's the Formula One in Saudi Arabia. They've just wrapped up the Dubai Air Show, but they were saying that this weekend they're warning Dubai travelers that they should also get to the airport early.
There's also the Dubai Expo on at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's any specific event that's taking place to spark a travel influx, but that is certainly ongoing and apparently very impressive as well.
Yeah.
A lot of our mates who live over in Dubai have posted a lot of pictures around the expo, and it looks like something well worth visiting.
Must be a hub of activity, awesome.
Certainly.
It's funny, a year ago, say Lyft is a year old. So I remember quite specifically this time last year, sitting around a table going, any ideas on what to talk about on the show this week? And it was such a nice thing where this sort of new airline was being formed and we could talk about it. But here we are actually a year later talking about the fact that we must expect delays because there's too many passengers. And there's a marked recovery in certain ways.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's such a nice thing to actually talk about.
It's a relief that it's sort of happening earlier than we expected as well. I mean, you mentioned it the other day, Jason. I think you said that Emirates were operating a lot more of the A380s recently.
Yeah.
If you're allowed to talk about that, or.
Yeah, things are certainly picking up again, Ryan. As far as I know, and don't quote me, but I believe there's approximately 1/3 of the fleet is up and running again, and there's about 120 380s. So they went right down to around 6 for a period, and I think they're sitting at around about the 40 mark at the moment. So that's positive.
That's good news, eh?
It's on the move again. We'll have to see how this fourth wave in Europe affects us. I think for the bean counters, it's one thing planning in an airline or in the aviation industry in general under normal circumstances. But given these circumstances and the talk of these massive queues and an influx of tourists, how does one go about planning effectively without any constant data? The only constant is change at the moment.
Exactly. Look, I'm just grateful that the A380s are back in there, because there was a while last year for quite a few months where we thought we'd never see a quad jet in the sky again.
Yeah. And now it's got to the point, people in Johannesburg, every time the 380 flies overhead, it's like click, click, click.
It's like an air show.
Hashtag A380. But that's quite cool.
Yeah.
Did you see the 340 land in Antarctica?
Yeah. Hey, that was impressive, eh?
That was impressive. I'm sure that pilot was wearing flying eyes glasses.
Well, if he
Yeah,
wasn't
because of
wearing
the
half
glare,
yeah.
eh?
If he wasn't, I bet you he wish he was.
Yeah, and he was definitely wearing the flying socks.
As are we.
Yeah, as
All
are
three
we,
of us
all
today.
three of
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try lift my leg again.
Yeah.
Amidst all the wires. But quite an amazing thing. That 340 landing there on a sort of a blue glacial ice. Yeah, quite amazing. Eh? So Lisbon-based half fly. So they took off from Cape Town, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, enough fuel to go there.
Did you see the video on that? It was quite impressive how sort of dedicated the captain was to the whole trip.
Yeah, we could see it was the highlights of his career. Hey?
Yeah. There was that, and also he was I think he's the deputy CEO. So of High Fly. He's
Okay.
like the boss's 2IC.
Okay.
So he was going to make sure that mission happened. Didn't give it to some ARB fleet pilot.
It was going to happen.
It was going to happen. But I mean, yeah, I was reading the article. A lot of planning, dedication, and they got to time it right, weather-wise.
Yeah.
They got to, they've got vehicles. Radioing them about the runway conditions.
Yeah.
It's quite something.
Did you notice on touchdown how the only thing going left and right was the center line? It's not often that the center line moves in the airplane straight. It's normally the other way around.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That iceberg, I don't think I have the information here, but how deep was it? They mentioned how it's like 5 kilometers deep or something.
Yeah, enough to take an A340.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Other news here. Ethiopian, they had on a 350 that wingtip strike.
Yeah, here in Johannesburg.
In Joburg. Did a go around, came back, landed uneventfully.
Yeah, no, just as well. Bit of news up in Ethiopia. There's a bit of civil unrest going on there, which is not cool to hear because
of the wingtip strike.
That's got nothing to do with that. But yeah, it's not the kind of stuff you want to hear because Ethiopia is a bit of a hub in Africa. So you don't want any more disruption. But hopefully they sort that nonsense out.
Yeah. Is it still the hub now that the Middle Eastern carriers are flying back here?
Probably not for long.
No. Who would you fly with? Ethiopian or Emirates or
Emirates?
Why? Because they don't do wingtip strikes.
And they fly at 380.
Yeah. No, look, it's
He's only saying that because I'm in the studio.
Yeah. The reality is I think Ethiopian was a big sort of plus during the whole lockdown. They were flying around and they almost became the preferred airline. But now that things are back to normal with the likes of Air France and that flying in and out and the Emirates options, which are multiple through the day, that makes a big difference. We've got guests here from France at the moment, and obviously with your one flight a day fixed time, it limits you on that particular day. We actually had to, shift the ticket around to accommodate it. But with Emirates, the philosophy of those lots of flights, it does add quite a lot of value to the potential customer.
The frequency of the flights, and then when you get to that hub, the choice of destinations that you can get to in a shorter turnaround time is definitely far more attractive.
So is the hub and spoke still the preferred method of travel?
Maybe.
Hey, I don't know.
So. I don't know.
How does it feel? I mean, just we used to flying someone from A to B, and they want to go to that destination. You fly someone to Cape Town, and because they want to go to Cape Town. But obviously, is there like a different vibe in flying people to a hub, and is it different flying outbound from the hub as opposed to inbound, knowing that the people coming inbound are probably going somewhere else?
Not in particular, but something that stood out to us, I'll never forget on one occasion. In fact, it was my first flight from Auckland back to Dubai, which was the longest flight at the time. It's approximately 17 hours, which is a long way.
Yeah.
And we must have been about 15 hours into the 17-hour flight. I'd just come back from the bunk, getting ready for the descent, etc. And there was a woman with a newborn baby outside the flight deck, screaming its head off. The augmenting crew had been in the flight deck for the last 10 odd hours. They sort of said, this baby's been crying the entire flight. So I went out and spoke to her. And this woman, this was just the start of her journey. From there, she was still heading to LA. Now LA from Dubai is 17 hours. Why she was doing that, I'm sure it's a lot quicker to fly from
journey.
Auckland directly. But
Sure.
yeah, I think it's all around cost as well. People are prepared to put themselves through that inconvenience of going via for the cost.
And it's such a massive difference in cost. It's massive. I was looking the other day to go to the Austin Grand Prix next year, just out of interest.
You buying me tickets?
No.
Come on.
No. You can't go. Why can't you go? Should we talk about it?
Yeah.
Ryan got some very cool news today.
Yeah.
In fact, Al Macaulay has just messaged you.
Is it?
Yeah. Howdy, lads. Congrats, Ryan, on your news. Ryan, tell us what happened.
Oh, thanks, Del. Yeah, no, look, I'm still trying to climb down from Cloud 9. Got the awesome news that we've got a baby girl on the way, and she's going to be due in May.
Another
next year.
bambino.
Yeah, no, I'm super chuffed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, obviously a very big reason why I won't be going to the Austin Grand Prix next year.
I'll send you pics.
Yeah.
I was my missus is watching as well. She says, "Hey guys, Ryan, congrats on your news. So happy for you both."
Oh, thanks everyone.
So last Friday, I was just looking at the net to try and gauge on ticket prices overseas, and I'm quite keen next year to make it like a bit of a sporting year. I'd love to go see a live Liverpool game.
Oh yeah.
I'd love
Is that
to
before
do
or after May?
yeah, that'll be after. Obviously, Nicole is determined to go and watch Grand Prix, so that's very much on the cards.
Wait for the Grand Prix to come to Cape Town.
No, it's not going to be the same.
Have you guys been to a Grand Prix before?
I have. I've been with my dad a few times. We've been to Paul Ricard in France, and I went to the Monaco Grand Prix in 2001, which was just insane. And you can't. It's the same thing. We were talking about it earlier. There's some things that you just can't explain to people, and that's one of them. So I'm not going to get out of that one. I need to take Nicole to a Grand Prix, and my wife is a Disney World nut. Mickey Mouse. She wears Mickey Mouse, everything. So Disney World is very much on the cards, but my excuse at the moment is we have to wait until Capri's at least 3 years old before we can go to Disney World. So so I was just having a look, but it was remarkable the difference in price between going via Emirates, Qatar, one of those, as opposed to trying to do it a bit more direct. It's quite remarkable. I mean, you're not even talking half. You're literally talking a third. It's amazing.
I mean, look, this is going back 2018, 2019, but I think it was back in the day when we were still trying to plan to go to Oshkosh, myself and a couple of mates, and Joburg to Dubai,
What's that?
Then to Chicago. Oshkosh, the world's biggest air show, which I've never been to either. And it's going to take a couple of more years before I do. But back then I think it was 11 grand return from Joburg to Chicago. I mean, that's nuts. Some people are paying that just to get to London from Joburg.
Yeah. Via.
So
You got to go. That's worth it. All right. Carrying on. Where should we go next? Zambia Airways officially launched flights on 1st of December. After delay, the airline was initially operated domestic routes from Lusaka to Ndola and Livingston. The plan for Zambia Airways to operate 3 Dash Q400s and a Boeing 737-800. I got that from Duncan Gillespie, actually, who's also watching. And as always, a major supporter of ours. And what he says, no doubt, 3 of my favorite people I've ever met.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank
We
you.
were just talking about you earlier.
Yeah. We went for a pub lunch earlier, totally alcohol free, and we spoke about Duncan. So Duncan, how's it, man? Nice to have you here.
Thanks, Duncan.
A few other people listening, just to shout out, of course, Al, we mentioned already. Janet Klutter, of always, she supports us. Al giving us a bit of Genya. Chris Smith, great to hear from Jason. He's definitely one of the best all-rounders in aviation. Always a positive attitude and a great mentor for many of us. Enjoy that beach beast.
Hey, thanks, Chris. I think the last time him and I flew together was we did a flyby over a rugby match in George.
No way.
Yeah, what an experience.
Yeah.
In the cargo configured 1900D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
right
Yeah.
through the stadium.
Yeah, Chris
Yes.
is a sort of a regular face here at the Sim Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's it, Chris?
Yeah.
Keegan here as well. How's it, gents? Looking good. Glad you all got your socks on. Awesome to have Jason on the show. He's a great figure for aviation in South Africa. That you are, Jason. I know you don't want to talk about yourself that much, but you are. And I mentioned to you the other day, I sent you a message and I said, we've met a lot of people on this journey, and a lot of people we haven't actually met in real life, but we formed a connection straight away, and more than that, we actually started trying to work together a bit. You've got some projects on the go, and we wanted to try and help, and you in turn helped us, and it was such a remarkable thing, and we formed such a good relationship. I mean, us three got over the last year, it's really been fantastic.
It really has.
And it's and I hope, and I'm sure it's been this way, that other people around the globe have been doing the same. And I'm sure that it does come to a bit of a head at some point where you do actually meet and you do actually chat, and it's funny when you do meet them, it's like, this is exactly how I thought Jason would be. This is exactly how I thought he would fly an aircraft.
Yeah.
And it's such a nice thing, like almost a little cherry on top for 221. For us from a podcast perspective.
Yeah, likewise. We were just talking earlier over our lunch about the benefits of what we've done, what you guys have done through the podcast, and what Go Aviate has brought about, and many other things. And if anything, I think the biggest benefit, without a doubt, is being the networking and the connections made.
Yep.
And they really are solid. Although virtual, one would think maybe not as authentic as in reality, but I tell you what, meeting you guys, as you said, as expected, in fact, you way surpassed my expectations on all fronts. And it's hugely beneficial.
Yeah.
Man, the networking is just so incredible. There's an amazingness, for lack of a better word, about it, and the cool thing is it's getting people connected that are all on the same wavelength. A bunch of guys who realized,
was what Go Aviate is all about too.
Exactly.
And that's why it was such a passionate thing for us to want to be associated with, because it's that exactly what you said.
Yeah,
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Ryan, with people that are connected, because I found in the early days, after having been furloughed or in fact made redundant and sent packing, other people don't relate. It's very hard to explain. Your average person's sort of outlook on life is, well, you've got an income, you're providing for your family, what's the problem?
Yeah.
And fair enough. And yes, it is a blessing to be able to provide for the family, etc. But only a pilot understands that. We were just talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
The certain things missed, the adrenaline rush being one of them, which I've just received before coming into the studio for the first time in 5 months. And
how does it feel going into this?
Gee whiz, eh? Yeah,
it's different doing it remotely, or
very much so. Being live, I think, is one thing. Doing it remotely, at least I had my hand on the plug, so if there was load shedding, I could have self-imposed load shedding if need be.
Yeah.
But it's really being in the studio and seeing what you guys have done here. It's incredibly impressive. It really is. So hats off. Well done. It's brilliant.
Thanks, Jace. We got some housekeeping news, I suppose. Ryan, we've got episode 80 today.
Yeah, then
81 next week.
Then 82.
82. And then we're taking a break.
Yes. Yeah. They will call it quits for the year, and then kickstart again mid-Jan 2022. But taking a well-deserved break over Christmas, just to.
It's so close to the 100 mark.
I know it would have been really nice to end the year off on a magic 100, but we'll do that next year, and then make it big.
Our break is important. So 2 more episodes. So that's 9th of December will be our last show.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tune in for that one, please. But still next week, as per normal, we'll be here. We were a little bit, we risked it a bit this week because stage 4 load shedding is due to start at 4 o'clock if it was implemented, which it hasn't been.
Luckily, yes.
which is, I was waiting for that load shedding message, which didn't come through. So looks like we're in the clear for now, but it's caused a bit of chaos with the trying to be consistent. But anyway, 4 o'clock on a Thursday is a relatively stable time to find us. Where do you find us on the normal place? Facebook,
YouTube,
LinkedIn, YouTube.
LinkedIn,
okay,
all of them.
That's where to go.
Yeah.
I listened to, actually, before we get that, one of the things that I think is worth talking about is the single pilot operations that's being spoken about quite a lot. None of us know much about it. It's not a highly technical subject, but obviously it's quite widely known. The 350 is, they're looking at certifying it for single pilot operations. There's talk of some ATR versions being used for single pilot ops as well. So it is inevitable. If we talk about pilot shortages in America and all the things that are going to happen, there's not enough pilots to fill those roles. No question about it. So it is going to come in at some point. You mentioned, Jason, while we're having lunch, you pro technology, you pro things moving forward. I'm exactly the same, and I'm even more pro being someone that can identify this is what's going to happen. So either get on board. Tommy Rotenbach said that about the carbon emissions. He says this is coming into aviation, and whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter, because RKO and IATA, they believe it. So your belief or whatever doesn't matter. This is going to happen, and I think single pilot ops is there. But when I mentioned it to you, Ryan, you like straight away,
no,
some of the best times you've had in the flight deck.
Exactly. I think most pilots will agree with me on this one. Single pilot ops would suck. It would suck because some of my best friendships and connections have been through the flight deck. I don't know if you saw when you advertised this the show earlier this week, Quibus' name popped up and said, get Ryan to talk about the Pillar song.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Now, I'm not going to get into what the Pillar song is all about, but it was one of those things that was spoken about or joked about on the flight deck while we're flying, and it was just that thing.
Yeah.
And that was just one with one of my friends. Now, I'm the type of guy, I'll have fun with just about anyone, but yeah, the best times were on the flight deck when you were flying with someone that you got along well with, and it was a long day. You could turn an awfully long pairing into a very short day with a great crew. Like, I just can't imagine doing an Auckland to Dubai 17-hour ocean crossing on my ace. I guess so bored.
There's no ways
with myself, and there's no ways. I just couldn't. It would take the fun out of flying for me. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I don't know what you think about it, Jay.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And it's so interesting what you say. I think when I was in aviation, I found it so fascinating how a given flight deck, whether it's a 380 or a 1900, can be such a different place depending on who you're flying with. Of course. So I guess in some instances, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But for the majority of the time, absolutely, the guy you fly with or the girl you fly with really can turn it into a fantastic experience as opposed to man versus machine.
Absolutely. Whether you know each other well or not. I mean, let's face it, in an airline environment like Emirates, where you're flying with different crew from different cultures all the time, but that time spent on a long haul crossing, getting to know someone who you could potentially become very good friends with is awesome.
It is.
And for me, it's more about the time on flight deck as well as out of the flight deck. When you get to your destination, let's say you've flown somewhere really cool, like say Shells or
Bloemfontein.
Even Bloem's got its treasures. But you go out for dinner, you don't want to do that on your ace.
No.
That's crap.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of that idea.
And on the cabin crew side, what's the talk there? Vending machines.
Probably.
Yeah. If thirsty, break glass.
It won't be long before they'll charge you to go to the bathroom either.
Yeah, there's I see long haul stuff now. They're obviously introducing the pay for food option in the aircraft, and so that's gonna happen.
Listen, I do agree. It is a reality, and it's something we probably have to come to terms with. Because if you saw,
I've come to terms with it. I'm fine.
Okay, fine. You, Mr. Rosiger. But
so what are they going to do? Is they're going to create a?
No, I think it's going to become single pilot. If you look at what was it Elon Musk that civil crew mission that they launched a few months ago, that Inspiration 4.
Inspiration 4, yeah.
That pilot was a regular Joe. So, okay, he's a billionaire with lots of money. He flies his own jets around, but not an astronaut by any means. And they sent 4 civilians up into space for 3 days. If they're already doing that, what's about putting one oak in an A350, so off you go. Everything else is autonomous. No, it's coming.
Okay, but there's something else. So a lot of the talk is about the A350. And the A350 can be used because it's an ultra modern aircraft and it flies long haul. So there's, I suppose, time for one pilot to be in the bunk while the other pilot is operating. But the shortage of pilots is not on the long haul stuff. The pilots want to fly for the big airlines. They want to fly 350s and 777s and things like that. So it's going to, I believe, sneak through onto the regionals first. The ATR has been spoken about quite a lot. They say that they can use the ATR for single pilot ops. So watch that space a bit. Often they do this. There's like a bit of smoke and mirrors. It's all about the 350, it's ultra modern, and then suddenly the approval goes through, but it's not for the 350. It's for an ATR aircraft flying regionals because that's where the shortage of pilots are.
That makes it even more suckier because imagine doing like a double George or a double Bloom or something on your ace.
Imagine doing a load sheet and you have to talk to the passengers
and refuel airplanes. By yourself. 4 sectors a day. I'd rather opt for the 17-hour 1 sector long haul in that instance if I'm given a choice.
There's a brilliant article, the Air Current, about single pilot ops, and well worth to read. I'll leave the link in the show notes. But as always with them, very well written, and it's not extremist in any way. It's just laying out the facts. This whole thing in the States, about needing 1,500 hours before you can go to a mainline carrier is a big thing at the moment, and there's a major problem looming. So either they're going to ditch that, which, do you hope they don't ditch that? I hope they don't ditch that. I mean, we're talking, someone earlier talking about FAA licenses and things like that, and is it worth it? And maybe the states are so desperate for pilots, they bring pilots in, and you
No, look, I'd rather have an experienced guy flying single pilot ops than a 250-hour one day.
I'm saying for sure. But even for us with license holders, it opens more opportunities. Surely, if they keep that experienced license holders, if they keep that restriction there,
no, of course,
because it opens the opportunity to get other people in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not all bad.
It's not all bad, but I'm just looking at the.
You're just being negative, right?
I'm looking at it from a pilot's perspective. Jason will agree with me, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But did you see Paolo Martinez's post yesterday afternoon? Him and an ex-colleague of ours from SACS, James Buchanan, were flying a 3A30 in Asia somewhere, and they posted a picture of a sighting that they had.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Gee, that was mind-blowing.
Hey?
Yeah.
No, none of us can make out what that was. Some sort of a UFO, but there's lots of speculation.
Wasn't it a Starlink satellite thing? Or
might have been, but it was the weirdest sighting.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you make of that?
Gee, I'm not sure. I watched it 3 times, and it was very strange.
It was
very strange indeed.
Yeah. No. That's going to make them famous, I'm sure.
It was flares of sorts. I mean, it looked like flares.
But they were very high.
Yeah.
They were sitting at 39,000 feet or something like that. And now, at least there was 2 of them to back it up. They both saw it. If you're flying single pilot, no one's going to believe you.
Yeah. Shout out to all our friends in Hong Kong. Thanks for last week. Show went #1 in Hong Kong for aviation. So that was really cool.
Yeah,
and there were so many people afterwards that messaged us and said, "Hey, love your show and gonna subscribe. I'll share it." So made lots of connections there in Hong Kong. It was fantastic. It was such a nice show last week because it was a little bit more impromptu and we got Dave on, and Dave, what a trooper for coming on the show. And we could, watching it back afterwards, we could not have had a better guy on than Dave, chatting about life there and just being, as Dave is, totally honest. But it gave everyone such a nice perspective. my mom said to me afterwards, it was so nice listening to Dave because he was just honest and said this is how he is, this is how he feels, and it's difficult, but he wasn't complaining at the same time. It was a nice thing to see.
Yeah, it was unpretentious, and it was straight from the horse's mouth, and the truth, which is what we want.
Yeah,
tell us what it is. Don't mickey around and try and sort of sugarcoat everything when it's really not that great. So it was great. I mean, it was awesome to speak to Dave because I haven't seen him since he left Saks, which was 2 years ago. So it was an awesome opportunity to catch up, and it'll be nice if there's anyone else keen to do that again sometime.
Yeah, we will do that again. I think. Yeah, obviously we've got Jason in the studio today, which we weren't expecting. We were actually going to try and outsource it a bit and see if there's someone else around, but it's so nice having you. And you actually fall very much in line with what my advisory was for this week. There's an exceptional podcast out on, it's called the High Performance Podcast with Jake and Damien. And they interviewed Dan Carter, New Zealand All Black number 10, ex-All Black number 10. And the podcast, obviously, we mentioned before, there was a fantastic one a year ago, actually, almost to the day, with Johnny Wilkinson. But this one was obviously about what his ideas are of high performance. And they spoke about, he spoke quite a lot about repurposing. He said when he retired from international rugby, his purpose was no longer there, because he was, his aim was to be the best rugby player of all time, the best All Black of all time, and to leave a legacy. And like he says, if you have an aim like that, you actually never reach that legacy, because it's just a mountain that you'll continue to climb. But that's what you need. He had this thing, and that was his determination. And always asked the question, what am I adding to the group? In other words, there was quite a remarkable thing the New Zealand team had. It was called a no dickhead policy.
It's quite a good policy.
Yeah. But when you talk,
a couple of airlines could do with that.
Yeah, a couple of pilots could do that one. But yeah, and what it was, and what it was all about was, if there was someone that was acting in the best interest of themselves and not the group, then that you had to call them out on it. So there was, if a guy was playing with his shirt off to get some good pictures for the magazines, the guys would say, no, that's not part of our culture, type of thing. But anyway, this whole repurposing thing got me thinking a little bit, because, and what it is when he retired from international rugby, a very successful international rugby player of, I think, 17, 18 years, his purpose was no longer there. And I know Ryan and I'm sure you as well, Jason, suffered a little bit from the same thing. When you're flying an aircraft, your purpose is it's quite easy. You want to operate as well, as safely as you can for your operation. It doesn't matter if you're flying for a local airline here on a 1900 or a big airline in the Middle East on an A380. Your objective is to fly there safely and perform to the best of your ability. And I know with us, when the rug was pulled from under our feet, suddenly it wasn't just a case of what am I going to do for a job. It was also a case of, well, what's the driving factor now? What's the purpose now? We fortunate enough to still be in the industry, but Ryan, if I asked you now, certainly if you ask me, what's my direct purpose? I can answer you the common answers, like, be a good father and be a good husband and those things. But ultimately, from a professional point of view, it might take a little bit of thought now again, and a bit of help maybe, for someone to sit down with us and say, what is the new goal? What is the new ambition? What is that mountain that you're not going to reach the top of? Jason put out a wonderful sort of YouTube series a while back, Jason. I don't know how many months ago it was. And that was all about, your skill set that you've learned and how you can use it somewhere else, which is key. And that was like the first step. I think, people, you need to know what skills you have so that you can actually use them. And if you need to use them in another industry, then so be it. That's great. And now it's maybe another step forward to say, well, if you're not going to go back and fly, at least straight away, what's the new purpose? Repurpose yourself going forward. And it got me thinking a little bit, because I haven't really thought of that. When I was flying an aircraft, it was relatively easy. You're a first officer, you want to become a captain. When you become a captain, maybe you want to become the chief pilot. When you become there, maybe you want to go to another bigger airline, and you start again, and you build your way up. And I think that continues a long way until you're a captain on a big aircraft and in a nice place with your family looked after, and maybe that's your purpose. But so many guys have had that purpose taken away, and I wonder how many have had some help in being repurposed. So if you want a little bit of inspiration there, this week's Bryan Air advisory, I'll leave the link in the show notes. Dan Carter's high performance podcast interview was fantastic.
I'll definitely give that a listen.
That sounds good.
You want to weigh in on that, Jay?
Yeah, I want to add an advisory, if I may,
please.
at this point. It's a technical advisory based on your talk of Bitcoin over the past couple of weeks.
Yes.
I recently discovered, in fact, last week, for the first time, I was left with all kids alone for the weekend.
That can be dangerous.
Yeah, indeed. And off we went to purchase groceries, and I bought groceries at Pick and Pay for the first time with cryptocurrency in South
Seriously?
Africa. Yeah. So there's an app called BitRefill,
Yeah.
and you can basically buy vouchers at certain retail outlets in South Africa, such as Pick and Pay, Incredible Connection,
Wow.
and there's quite a list. I think Mug and Bean and a couple of others.
I
Yeah.
still-
Dischem, and then it basically gives you a code. You rock up to pay, and it's as if you're paying with a voucher. They punch the code into the till or scan the barcode if there is one.
Yeah.
And there you have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty
So
cool.
cryptocurrency is finally,
So you also into a bit
Really?
of crypto,
yeah,
Jay?
yeah,
Huh?
yeah. No,
We are.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I love that fact. I don't have
Yeah.
enough of it yet, but we're working on that.
Yeah.
It's
No,
pretty
it's the
cool.
way of the future. We speak
Yeah.
about, single pilot operations.
Mm.
You cannot deny fiat currency is a thing of the past.
Done.
Uh,
I mean,
Absolutely.
it's like debating whether typewriters
So the
of
podcast
any
has
use
just started.
of today.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
look,
No.
Aviators, you can tune off if you want. Yeah, this is a subject we're quite keen
Yeah.
on.
very passionate
Mm.
about that kind of stuff and the technology and the way the world's going.
Yeah, technology doesn't go backwards ever.
Mm.
No.
Technology only moves forwards.
It does.
It only goes forward. So if this is a technology, it's only going to move forward. You
Yeah.
have to be in it.
Yeah, no, you have to. Just a quick comment. Not to switch
Sorry, I
gears
got
too
passionate
quickly.
about it.
No, 100%. But weighing in on your Dan Carter podcast, it's definitely well worth a listen and well worth some thought. I think for the guys out there, the pilots that are struggling to still get their way through this whole thing, because as pilots, we're so used to being goal orientated.
Mm.
You like set that goal, achieve it, and that's the whole thing. Now you're in a world where everything is a moving target.
Yeah.
And that's where I think most of the pilots are struggling to sort of come to terms with things. So yeah, well worth some thought. But
And it's not easy, is it? I mean, to
No.
try your hand at something else, as much as you can promote all these valuable skills, transferable skills that we have
Yeah,
as
yeah.
aviators, to put them to practice, it's not as easy as one would think.
no,
and
not at all.
but is it also something that you need help with? We don't ask for help, do we? I
Mm.
mean, really, let's think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
pilot doesn't go out and ask help, but here's Dan Carter, arguably the best player of all time, and he went to get help. I think it was from the CEO of Sochi and Sochi about repurposing. How do you repurpose yourself, and looking inward, and be the one thing that came out there, and I think I'm very guilty of this, is being sort of outcomes focused. So you focus on the outcome instead of focusing on the process.
yeah,
Mm.
So if you focus on the process, the outcome will be that. And then there's a few techniques on how to actually help with that type of thing.
I think it comes. It's also about now getting used to how to do valuable introspection. That's something that a lot of people probably struggle with. And I'm going to probably start treading water.
You're getting deep.
We're
No,
getting
let's talk
deep
about
now. No, I'm going to start sounding like a
No,
professional that I'm
absolutely.
not. But yeah, it is what it is.
Okay, so looking inward, try and
Yeah.
discover what the hell's going on, so you
Exactly.
can improve what happens.
Yeah, and you've
on the
taken
other
this
side.
piece of aviation out of you. So what do you replace it with, and how do you come to terms with that and move forward? Yeah,
Isn't there like there's certainly
thing.
with me, there's like an element of being burnt a bit by aviation.
no, I feel
And it's
that.
like
Very
you almost want to give it the middle finger in a certain way, and I almost don't want to go back and fly because I think done. I'll go
Yeah.
and sort myself out somewhere
exactly.
else, which is possibly not the right attitude, because it's not aviation that did that. I mean, and I think there's something that people can learn from it, to say, if you are angry with what happened, don't be angry. If you're angry, another thing in this podcast that came out was talking about having a red and a blue head. So red head is when you're angry, when you're aggressive, you're not actually thinking. When you got a blue head, so when they used to play, they used to ask themselves, do I have a red head or a blue head at the moment? So if you had a red head, think about someone cutting you off in the traffic, and you straight away, you get angry, you get aggressive. You're not thinking in that process. So the trick is to say, well, you're a human, so that is going to happen to you. You need to, instead of saying, I mustn't let that happen, you need to rather say, let me identify when I go into a red head situation, and then stop and go into a blue head situation. So a blue head situation is when you're thinking. So you can outthink the situation. So as a player and as a captain on an airliner flying an ILS approach, you'd hope you're in a blue head situation. But I remember quite a few times being also, nothing worse. And just before Top of D, operations is trying to get hold of you.
Yeah, because they want you to do 4 extra sectors.
Yeah, you got to do a couple of extra sectors on a broken, fucked out airplane.
Yeah, it definitely works.
Yeah, sorry, Mom.
Transitions the red head situation.
Yeah. So you and it's such a bad thing, because I mean, it's not how you should be operating an aircraft.
Exactly.
But it does flick a switch. So anyway, fantastic podcast. Listen to it.
Yeah. Before we carry on more down that sort of subject, Leon Fullion, our resident Justin Bieber, says you can also buy flying eyes with Bitcoin.
Oh, fantastic. She's now got no excuse.
Yeah, no, you got no excuse.
Jeez.
Yeah. So we recommended that Leon and Jason get in touch, because it could benefit the Go Aviate platform a bit. I don't know if you want to chat about that a bit more. You want to leave that for a later stage, but
We're
it was
gonna
a
chat
worthwhile
about
connection. Little firecracker like old Justin Biebs.
Jeez,
Leon Fullion.
he is a real firecracker, this guy. Yeah.
He is.
Fantastic. He's going to make a success of his flying eyes. There's no question about that.
Oh yeah. One determined individual.
He's a hell of a determined guy.
Yeah.
Can I bring in some other people here and just see how things are going?
Yeah.
All right, Al again. Yeah, I think the trip's 7X delays have also prompted a rethink on the Emirates A380s. Yep, there's definitely, what I didn't want to talk about today was the folding wings of a 777X. Every single aviation podcast and aviation magazine, all about the folding wings.
Yeah.
Doesn't interest me that much. What else? Yeah, Keegan again.
Dean Strassen, hard to have a blue head doing any sort of flying out of Hong Kong at the moment.
Yeah, did you see there was a bit of a CFIT situation there the other night. Andrew Evans posted. Yeah,
I missed that.
Yeah,
What happened?
Yeah, I think they turned. I've got it down here, but
Did an early turnout.
Early
Early
turnout.
7. It's happened before.
yeah,
Really?
it's
It's a
happened
common
before.
occurrence over there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
early turnout, and they were 700 feet above the highest point on that.
Yeah, something to that effect.
Yeah, so it was pretty tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of redhead going on over there.
Oh no.
Mark Thompson says, "Congrats, Ryan."
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. And
Congrats. This is Keegan on the news. Ryan, get the shotgun ready, he says.
I'm going to. Don't worry.
And Jason Northwood's commented here.
No worries.
Congrats,
That's
Ryan.
comfy.
And then it's hyphen Jenna here. How's it, Jenna?
Hey, Jenna.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jenna, Jenna is pushed out an awesome
Yeah.
children's book, which Jason very kindly gave to us, and my little guy
Yeah.
has read that book cover to cover
Yeah.
3,000 times since Monday.
Yeah.
Loves it.
Awesome.
It's
That's
actually
wonderful work,
it's
Jenna.
such a cool, yeah, Jenna, well done with that. It is such a well present. I said to Jason at lunch, what sort of creative mind does Jenna have to come up with the story in this book? The book looks like it's like something you would keep forever.
Yeah.
It's a hardcover children's book. It's really, really fantastic. I think Riley was trying to read yours. Capri was trying to eat hers right now. So I'll keep hers for keep the
Hence the
storyboard
hardcover.
for But yeah, what a fantastic thing Jen has done. You guys have been a wonderful team,
Yes.
Jason. I mean,
Thanks.
everything you've been through, and you being, I know during lockdown you were stuck in Dubai, and your family was here, 4 kids, and you, whenever you speak, you speak of your family in such a high regard. It even makes me feel like quite emotional about it. It's a really nice thing to see, and so yeah, I mean, I want to say well done with that. It's not that. It's like I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's
thanks.
such a
Thank you,
nice,
Bryan.
such a nice thing to
Yeah,
present.
she is. She's an incredible support to me. She really is. And just on her book, that's the first of. I don't want to hijack this for.
No, let's
you
talk
know,
about it.
It's
I
an
mean, yeah.
aviators podcast,
No.
but just aviation related. That book is the first of a 3-part series, which isn't aviation related. It's on the fruits of the spirit, so I won't go into that. But she is currently working on a pilot's wife's devotional book.
No ways.
And it should be launched by the end of January. So
Oh, really?
We know what
Yeah.
Val's getting
Yeah.
for her birthday next year.
You want to know how to deal with a pilot? Only a pilot's wife knows. So,
Yeah, so
Val needs that
what so go into that a bit more. I mean,
yeah, look, I won't share too many details about it, but it's really just a daily devotional encouragement book for it's scripture based, but for pilots'
That's so
wives
cool,
in
man.
particular,
That's
and
awesome.
how to deal with, because it's a challenge. You talk
Yeah.
about being a support and having a rock. Behind every man is a supportive woman, they say, and living over in the UAE, for argument's sake, the support that we experienced from she experienced from the pilots' wives and vice versa. And I think there's a place in the market for it.
Definitely.
A lot of pilots, as much as we sit here and say we feel like we've been burnt and we've lost a part of ourselves, losing our wings. For the wives, it's a tough one to deal with in the support role, and
it is.
Come to think of it, it's
Shout out to-
something. Yeah, an
to
absolute
Val.
shout out to all the pilots.
To all the
Val
wives,
and
yeah.
Nicole.
and to all the pilots who are wives.
Yeah.
As well, to try and juggle being a pilot as a woman and to raise your kids as well.
We've got
hats
lots
off
of
to you.
friends and colleagues that are in that situation. I mean, Haystick and Michelle ring to mind, Claire and Peter Roosty. You just made me realize now that it's a topic that we've sort of fallen short on. Is what about everybody that supports the pilots that are are feeling sorry for themselves?
You
right
cannot.
now?
Exactly.
How do
You cannot do it without a support system.
Negative. No.
There's no ways that I would be doing this without Nicole's support,
No.
and I know you exactly the same.
Yeah.
So, it was nice to bring that in because Jason's got a nice way of talking about it on the show when we went live. Jason spoke very highly of Emirates and very highly about standards and culture and being prepared, which, by the way, we've actually used as a training video here at Samero. It's been
fantastic.
used in the recurrent training program for 221 about being prepared and, for every single flight, which has gone down really well with a lot of the students. And it's such a, I think we get caught up a little bit in, we even earlier speaking about climbing this mountain and we need to do this and need to do that, but you cannot do it without a structure around you.
Support base.
And before you do
Absolutely.
anything, you've got to build that structure. And after that show, it ended, and then Jenna came on, and we all had a chat together, and it was so nice. And, that itself, that chat that we had with the 4 of us or 5 of us, it could have been a podcast on its own because it was nice. It should have been.
Yeah.
But that's why I speak about it now, because it was a very nice thing to see. And you've got a very subtle way of promoting sort of a wholesome, positive, healthy, all those sort of words in your life, Jace. So
thanks.
a real role model in that regard. Ryan?
Yeah, no, look, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's fantastic to see the love that you have and the support that you have, and I can only sort of hope to replicate that in a lot of ways.
I think the most important thing that we've all got to remember, we were talking earlier about finding our purpose, is the thing we've got to guard the most and protect the most is our loved ones. At the end of the day, that's all that counts.
That matters, really. Yeah.
And I think that's where the cross is bared between, well, with most of us, is the fact that most guys are now sitting without jobs and everything. Is how do you support your family? And
then you feel like a failure if you.
But a lot of us have spoken about, like, some guys don't want to go back on contract because I'm one of them. I wouldn't do it because I don't want to leave my family behind. But very often, a lot of guys are forced to because that's the only way they can provide. And it's such a conundrum, really, drawing the line between, like, well, what do I do? Stay behind and do X because I don't want to do Y. It's quite a heavy topic.
It is.
It really is. Yeah.
It is. Maybe one for, obviously it's not one you're going to cover on one podcast, but no. It's a topic that I know Jason's very involved in, so well worth bringing up. I'm going back just quickly, let's go aviation for a second again. Yeah. So a comment that came up on Facebook was with the Hong Kong thing. More like a lack of recency. Every port has a threat or multiple threats. Hong Kong is terrain and often wind shear. ATC particularly good. Small errors are creeping in. Incorrect FMC programming, flap or takeoff configuration errors. Even ATC are not as stimulated as before due low traffic figures.
Gee, I think whoever wrote that fantastic topic to raise, in my humble opinion,
Andrew Evans.
Andrew, I think, in my humble opinion, there's a huge safety threat that faces the aviation industry right now. There really is. For one, pilots aren't current.
Yeah.
The pilots that remain have their heads elsewhere. Am I next on the chopping board? Because there are still airlines chopping.
Yeah.
The operating environment has changed significantly. And then I just spoke to a friend the other day who just went back to flying, having not flown for 18 months. And it was interesting to hear how he changed type. This was in a significant airline.
Yeah.
He changed his aircraft type from Airbus to Boeing, which is a significant change.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was rushed through the type rating and told, "You safe, the boxes are ticked, jump on the line." He went through a sort of reduced CCQ course, and off he went. Very competent chap, but even himself, he was really surprised at the almost sausage machine effect or feel that that he experienced in that, and I think that's a huge threat.
We heard a similar story the other day.
Yeah, no, it's frightening. You can't.
There was someone on a friend of ours on a Trip 7 or it might be a 787 course.
Yes.
And every single sim session was like it didn't seem like there was much training going on. It was like sim session 1 test, you can go to sim session 2, sim session 2 test, go to session 3.
Yeah.
Eventually he said stuff this, and he's gone back to Emirates. He was with Emirates, and
no, look, it's a real thing. And I mean, not only are the guys facing situations like the chopping block, etc., but there's guys that are on contract that want to come home that can't come home, so they're fed up and their minds aren't with it. So no, it's a minefield out there. Actually,
it is. It's a difficult situation.
It certainly is.
But yeah,
Jace, what's the plan now? You going home?
Gee, yeah, I'm going home. My strategy, Brian, is to position myself for the recovery. You know, from day one when I started flying, my strategy was to always position myself for the next job I knew where I wanted to go. So what I mean by that is when I got my comm, I immediately did my ATP subjects. When I got 1,500 hours, did my ATP test, etc., etc. So to always have the best qualifications you could to position yourself, you know, for a job. And I'm kind of taking the same approach now. So I've stopped selling chips full time. I'm back in the flying game. My South African license and instructor rating that I did this week was the first step in the process, but I'm seriously looking at doing my FAA ATP. There's certainly a shortage looming in the States, but still a lot of talk around how much of a shortage and how willing companies are.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is media hype, and a lot of law firms are jumping on the bandwagon to make money out of pilots to try and get them into the States. So one has to certainly tread carefully with that, because it isn't a cheap exercise. And I'm also looking at studying. I'm going to start a master's, executive master's in aviation management in January. I think by having a degree behind your name, unlike in South Africa, when you start looking abroad, the States, the UAE, if you want any sort of management position, even a training manager, you need a degree behind your name. So that's the plan. That's the plan. Yeah.
So using the time effectively to
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
What is that about being outcome based instead of being process based?
Exactly.
Good example.
Yeah. Always be learning, I think, was one of the titles of one of our podcasts a few episodes ago, where it was the same thing. It was like, don't let anything stop you now. Just you know,
and
always be learning.
And we're learning too. We're trying to improve the Wi-Fi. Everyone that's watching live, we've got a few plans here, and it will be better next year. We don't have it activated today, but it will be better. So video quality, obviously, when you go live, drops off a bit because you're reliant on our Wi-Fi system, but it should be a bit better. We're hoping it was going to be better today. Hopefully next week it's nice and solid for everyone. Just some comments to everyone that tunes in to listen. Obviously, doing it live makes it so cool for us, because it makes people are watching. People are there. So Marcel Smith, congrats Ryan, he says.
Thanks, Marcel.
Old Leon Brown, I'll go with you. He says, congrats, Ryan.
You've got no shortages of people that are going to go with you to the Grand Prix.
Mark here got a comment. Some guys connect on different levels. If you lost your job and without a flying job compared to having a flying job waiting to be called back, your attitude and determination is on a different scale. 100%.
Totally.
100%. Keegan again, some pilot ops is a no from me, beside the lack of banter. Keegan's all about the banter. He's
like one of us.
Yes. Obviously, it was an element for us in the podcast was there was no flight deck banter going on. So if you and I were flying together, we'd probably be talking a little bit more cuck than what we're talking now, but it's there. A few more whiskeys and maybe. Timo Rebel, I know.
Timo.
Single pilot ops is only a transition. Unmanned flights is what it is leading to. Yeah, exactly. It's just a transition. Hopefully, I'm on pension by then. I think you will be. Timo. Walter says, it's so nice to see the innocence of youthful presenters. Very youthful presenters.
That's cool. I'll take that one.
Thanks, Walter. And as you mentioned about Dion already with the blue head situation.
That is funny.
Brian Rothman, how's it, guys? Sounds very cool. And everyone that comes and supports. Let's just see. Dion Starson says, where are you doing the degree? Do you want to let that out?
For you, Jason.
You don't have to.
I'd rather not right now, purely because I was asked not to. It's UK based. I'll put out that much. The reason being is that they've been so overwhelmed with applications, they just cannot handle it. So they're running 2 courses a year. If I'm not mistaken, there's 40 places on a course. So every 6 months they run another one. But there are plans in the park, because everyone I've mentioned this to is keen and showing interest. So I was asked. I asked if I could mention it on the podcast, but I was asked kindly not to for
No.
that reason.
There's often a few things like that you can't mention. We're in the same boat. We'd like to mention a few things with certain clients and that, but obviously you can't. It's the way it is. But yeah, there are a few options out there. And Dion, if you want to get in touch with me, my email address is there, and I can send you a bit of gen because I've done a bit of research on it myself. So
look, if you are interested, please send me a message and I'll speak to I know the originator of the course. It's an ex-Emirates TRI who got all this tailor-made during his time off. He was put on unpaid leave, and this particular course was in place already, but he's approached the university and tailored the course to suit full-time airline pilots, which is fantastic. So awesome. It's really I've done a fair amount of research looking at the likes of Embry Riddle in the States. It's an expensive option.
Yeah, that is
it's time-consuming, etc. Yeah. Whereas this, it's they provided you've got 10 years experience in the aviation industry, they recognize that as a degree, which cuts out the first 3 years, and that means you only have to do a year. Look, it's not for nothing. I believe the workload's quite high, not what us pilots are used to.
Yeah.
But in a year you can get an executive master's degree, which is and the cost is relatively reasonable.
It's awesome that there's actually an institution that finally recognizes the work that pilots have put into, because it always used to, I'm going to be frank, it pissed me off when you would go and do an application and said, what is your academic qualification? Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And it's like, everything until you're a pilot. No, you have to tick the other box because it's not recognized.
Yeah, you don't qualify.
It always used to annoy me. I mean, like an ATP was never really recognized anything, and I studied my heart off for that. So it's
on
nice.
A continuous basis.
Exactly. Every 6 months getting probed.
Be the most tested industry in the world. Yeah.
So it's nice to know that there is some recognition towards all that hard work.
It is quite remarkable. You talk about every 6 months. The whole thing. I always mention it in class. Do you realize the industry that you've got yourself in?
Yeah.
You go into a doctor's office and there's a moth-eaten certificate from Wits University in 1969 sitting on the wall.
That was the last time.
That was the last time he actually got probed.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not the case. Not only do you have to make sure you're still operating to a certified standard, but any changes that have happened or any law changes, you're on top of it, and you're operating not only to the level you operated last year, but to the new standard. And it's quite a remarkable thing. And on top of that, if you make a mistake, you'll be even more probed. Not to run other industry down, but take a doctor when someone passes away.
Yeah, that's that old joke. Doctors bury their mistakes. Pilots.
Yeah. There's no CVR or data recorder inside a human.
Exactly.
So we are. It's a very different industry that not many people understand.
Yeah.
Hasn't that been part of this, if I can call it, the success of the Bryan Air show? Is that it's brought that community together. So everyone that listens. What we've tried to do is make a show that is not really ours. It's ours, I say yours and mine. It's all the aviators.
Exactly.
It's kind of
it's for everyone. Yeah.
This is a show. This isn't a show by two nerds that don't have a pilot license. We have ATPs.
Got two nerds that do have pilot licenses.
We have ATPs, and Jason's got one too. And we talk a bit of cuck and a bit of banter, but we diehard aviator pilots, and it's actually for the aviators. When we weren't flying, what we missed was the chatting.
Exactly.
So this is the chatting, and I think maybe the expats as well. Maybe they miss the South African chatter, but
I'm sure they do, because we are good at talking cuck.
And the ref was full of shit on Saturday with the England game.
And the Formula One was a boring race.
No.
Hamilton. Timo Rebel
Come on, Max.
please do it for us this weekend.
My folks are actually at that Grand Prix.
No way.
They're visiting my sister
in
Saudi.
Doha.
Yeah, no, in Doha.
Oh, is that
the last?
Doha.
Okay.
This one that was on last weekend.
Oh, no ways.
Yeah.
At
really?
Yeah.
That was a fantastic race in terms of the tires that got charred. I mean, it was
I don't know.
a fascinating Formula One to watch.
Yeah.
Boring to see Hamilton in front,
Yeah.
but yeah,
The Mercedes
that's
wing
cool,
is
but,
dodgy.
yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
It's going to change in 2022, but let's leave that
Yeah.
for next year. Let's. I've been doing some research on the new car that's coming next year. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah. No, but this year, yeah, Max needs to win this
Yeah,
race.
take it, Max.
Yeah. Sorry, just carrying. Were you
That's-
finished there, Ryan?
No, I was going to
Carry
say,
on.
Timo Revolver comments a great interview with Jason. Jason, you are a natural at this.
Yes.
So,
Not at all. Gee, I
Nat-
tell you what, talk
You've
about
done a
putting you out of
few-
your comfort zone.
You've done quite a few interviews now,
I
Jace.
felt more comfortable 10 years later in the 1900s than I do sitting here. Gee whiz.
Uh,
This is cool.
Caroline Cole says, great entertainment for a Johannesburg afternoon, rainy Johannesburg afternoon. Learning a lot from you guys. Thanks for that.
Awesome.
Dion sends a thumbs up, Jason. Very cool. And Duncan again, yeah, cheers, guys. 1 o'clock. Thanks for a magic on point show. The fact that you're maintaining such an incredible continuity on a long haul live basis is absolutely incredible. Thanks for that. Al as well, he comes in. Good job. Keegan Glanfield says Hamilton has this in the bag. Fuck you, Keegs.
I'm taking my socks off.
Walter says, I got COVID a year ago. I remember that. I saw that on
Yes.
Facebook. Was in a coma for 2 months. Now I had 2 strokes. Just had to show me who's boss. I think my flying days are done. Enjoy your flying when you get back in the saddle. Nice thing to end off today's show, isn't it? Be thankful, be grateful for what we have. We got a wonderful job, a wonderful network of friends and family. And I think that's actually what today was all about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Bringing another family member onto the show.
Yeah.
Jason, thanks
Hey,
so much,
yes.
man. It's been
Thanks,
great
Mark.
today, pal.
Excellent. Thanks for having me,
Absolutely
gents.
loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was fantastic. And
Really
you're going to be
was.
on again, no doubt. Again,
Excellent.
next time you're
Yeah.
going to come back, get you back at the Sim Center. I know we all learn a lot from you. So everyone, have a lovely weekend. From all of us, goodbye.
Cheers and take care.
Cheers,
Cheers,
guys.
everyone.
Ciao.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.